are about to enter a story erased from Sunday school. The flood washed away the giants, but their daughters vanished into a silence thicker than myth. This is not a footnote. It is a buried bloodline, a theological crime scene, and the key to understanding everything that came after. Prepare to witness what was deliberately forgotten. The screen is dark. The silence is not empty. It is charged with what you are not supposed to know. You stand at the edge of a biblical black hole the moment after the waters receded, when the ark grounded on Ararat and history took a sharp, edited turn. What happened to them? The daughters of the Nephilim, born of angelic rebellion and human flesh, who walked the earth before the deluge. The official record says they were wiped out, but deep in your bones you feel the lie. The truth is a phantom limb aching with memory. This is a sacred investigation. We are reopening a case closed by decree. If something in you recognizes this truth, leave a comment and stay with this story until the end. Your reaction tells me to keep opening these doors. The first clue is not in a verse. It is in the chilling quiet that follows it. To understand the disappearance, you must first see the world they were taken from. Picture it, an antediluvian earth, not primitive, but throbbing with a frequency we have lost. The air is clearer, the colors are deeper, and the boundary between heaven and earth is tissue thin. Here, the sons of God, the watchers, look down and crave. They descend, they take the daughters of men. From these unions, the Nephilim are born, giants, warriors, beings of renown. But focus now on the mothers, focus on their daughters. These are not passive victims. They are carriers of a hybrid legacy, living bridges between two realms. Their very existence is a cosmic scandal, a walking, breathing violation of the created order. You witness a world where the spiritual and physical are illegally fused, and the keeper of that order is watching. The stage is set for a cleansing so total it must erase all evidence. But evidence has a way of persisting. Before the rupture, understand the invisible architecture. Heaven is not a vague somewhere. It is a structured dominion with ranks, jurisdictions, and laws. The Watchers are stationed at its borders, guardians of the veil. Their sin is not mere lust, it is treason. They trade divine secrets, metallurgy, warfare, sorcery for mortal affection. They are not just falling, they are weaponizing creation against its creator. And the daughters, they are the landing zone for this invasion. Their wombs become the factories for a new, unauthorized race. You are seeing a hostile takeover of the human genome. This is celestial espionage. The daughters of giants are born into this war, their blood a living treaty between rebels and humanity. Their fate is tied to the fate of the veil itself. If it is to be repaired, what happens to the living proof it was ever torn? Now, the rupture. It is not a slow decay, but a shattering. The Watchers cement their rebellion on the slopes of Mount Hermon, swearing oaths and taking wives. The earth groans under the weight of their offspring. The Nephilim devour the resources of mankind. Violence fills the world. But amidst the chaos, the daughters grow. They are the silent witnesses to a dying age. Imagine their eyes holding the light of heaven and the shadow of the abyss. They see their giant brothers become tyrants. They feel the world curdling with corruption. And they feel something else, the gathering storm of divine wrath. The sentence is passed. The architecture must be purged. The flood is commissioned. But a question hangs in the pre-storm air, a loophole in the judgment. Does the sentence of annihilation extend to the daughters who are both fruit of the crime and potential carriers of its seed? The aftermath. The rains fall, the fountains of the deep break open. You hear the collapse of mountains, the screams of giants caught in the torrent. The ark bobs above the carnage, a sealed capsule of purity. For 40 days the world is unmade, then silence, mud, debris, a blank slate. Noah steps onto the new earth. The giants are gone, but scroll through the inventory of the ark. It carried pairs of every kind. Did it carry the daughters of the Nephilim? The text is mute. Their absence from the passenger list is not proof of death, it is the core of the mystery. If they perished, why is their death not proclaimed like the giants? If they survived, how? The quiet here is deliberate. You are being guided to look away from the water and toward the empty shores. Something emerged from the mud that was not on the manifest. Primary evidence. You turn to Genesis, the authorized version, chapter 6, verses 1-4, the cryptic preamble to the flood. It mentions the sons of God, the daughters of men, the Nephilim, and then a curtain drops. The narrative jumps to God's grief and the command to build the ark. The fate of the women, the mothers, the daughters is erased. This is not an oversight. This is a redaction. The text itself is a crime scene with the body removed. You are reading around a hole, but the edges of that hole are sharp. The verse says the Nephilim were on the earth afterward, after the sons of God came in. Afterward. This word echoes beyond the flood. It implies a continuation. Your investigation must now go off-book. The canon has given you the question. The Apocrypha holds the testimony, hidden testimony. You enter the vault of the banned books. The Book of Enoch, preserved by Ethiopian priests and Essene scribes, speaks plainly. It names the watchers. It details their crimes. And in the cracks of its narrative, you find them. The daughters. Enoch describes the angels binding the watchers deep in the earth until judgment. But the children, the giants' bodies are destroyed, but their spirits become roaming demons. And the daughters? The text whispers of lineages, of survivors who carried the mingled blood into the new world. The Book of Jubilees hints that not all of the Nephilim seed was eradicated. You are piecing together a suppressed epilogue. The flood was not a complete genetic reset. Some lines were too entrenched, too woven into the fabric of humanity to be simply washed away. The evidence points to survival. The keepers. This truth did not die. It went underground. You find it in the guarded traditions of Kabbalists who spoke of the Sitra Achra, the other side, and its roots in ancient hybridity. You hear it in the whispers of desert monks who copied Enoch by candlelight, knowing it was condemned. These mystics understood. The daughters of the giants represent a permanent crack in reality, a testament to a time when heaven and earth bled into one another. They kept the story not as myth, but as a diagnostic for the human soul. They knew that to ignore this bloodline is to misunderstand the persistent struggle between purity and corruption in history itself. Write in the comments what most shook you so far and share this video with one person who also hungers for more. You are now part of the chain of transmission. Modern discovery. The scholarly bombshell. Archaeology enters the chat. Tablet fragments from Qumran beyond the Dead Sea Scrolls allude to post-flood genealogies that include names echoing the Nephilim lineages. Geneticists studying ancient DNA debate mysterious ghost sequences in early human genome's unexplained markers. Are these mere anomalies or echoes of that pre-diluvian mingling? Then there are the global myths, from the Greeks' Titan offspring to the Mesopotamian Apkallu Sagasol, recounting semi-divine beings surviving a great flood. The evidence is no longer just textual, it is inscribed in stone and strand. The Academy scoffs, but the data points to a consistent, global memory. The daughters were not erased, they were dispersed. Their legacy is our inheritance. The deeper truth. This is not about ancient gossip. This is about the nature of sin and salvation. The survival of the daughter's bloodline means the flood failed in its purported goal of total purification. Evil was not drowned, it was diluted and set adrift in human veins. This reframes everything. It explains the rapid re-emergence of wickedness after Noah. It explains the Canaanite giants the Israelites later fought. It explains the persistent supernatural taint that the biblical prophets constantly rage against. You are looking at the theological reason for the incarnation, to finally deal with a corruption that water could not wash away. The daughter's fate reveals a divine plan, more patient, more complex, and more terrifying than a simple reset. The war continued in the bloodstream of humanity, your calling. What does this mean for you? It means your spiritual struggle is older than you imagined. The tension you feel between the divine and the profane, the holy and the monstrous, has a genealogy. You are not just fighting personal sin, you are contending with ancient structural rebellions encoded in history itself. Knowing this changes your prayer from a plea for help into a strategic alignment with a cosmic campaign. You are called to discern the giant's legacy in the systems of the world, in the tyrannies, the occult knowledge traded for power, the pollution of the sacred. Your awakening to this truth is not an accident. It is a muster. You are being recruited to recognize the battlefield you were born onto. Physical traces. Proof is in the dirt. Look at the megalithic ruins scattered across the globe, massive stones, cut and moved with impossible precision. Traditional archaeology attributes them to early humans, but the scale whispers of another influence. Look at the ancient king lists of Sumer and Egypt, claiming descent from gods who survived the flood. Look at the Rephaim tombs in the Levant, giant-sized burial chambers. These are not coincidences. They are footprints. The daughters of the giants, through their descendants, influenced the rise and fall of empires. They became queens, priestesses, and matriarchs of powerful lines. Their physical legacy is written in the oversized architecture and the boastful genealogies of the ancient world. The stones are crying out the truth the scriptures soft-pedaled. The opposition. Who buried this and why? Follow the power. Early church councils, seeking a simple, controllable narrative of fall and redemption, labeled Enoch and related texts as dangerous and spurious. They could not allow a story where evil survived the ultimate judgment, where purity was compromised. It undermined clerical authority. It suggested the problem was deeper than behavior. It was biological, spiritual, and inescapable without a Messiah. The suppression was a theological containment strategy. By silencing the daughter's story, they made sin a matter of individual choice, not a hereditary cosmic warfare. This made faith manageable. It also made it shallow. The keepers of the official truth decided you could not handle the full story. They were wrong. Your decision. Now you know. The silence has been broken. The daughters of the giants walked out of the flood, and their lineage shaped the shadow history of our world. You stand at a crossroads. You can dismiss this as heresy and return to the sanitized story, or you can accept the terrifying, magnificent complexity of the real narrative, where God's plan works through the mess of survived corruption, leading to a redemption more glorious than simple annihilation. This knowledge is not for idle curiosity. It is a lens. It is a weapon. It changes how you read your Bible, how you view history, how you fight your battles. If this journey is opening your eyes, tell me in the comments what changed for you and follow this channel. The final piece of the puzzle requires your commitment to see, the final unveiling. So, what happened to the daughters of the giants after the flood? They lived. They bore children. They became the hidden matriarchs of lines that would both plague and propel humanity. They are the reason the conquest of Canaan was so brutal. The land was infested with their offspring. They are the dark thread woven into the royal line of David himself, reminding us that redemption comes through flawed, mingled vessels. This is the truth nobody tells. The flood was not the end. It was a filter. And what passed through changed everything. You are part of that story. Your choice now is to live in the bland lie or the dangerous, dazzling truth. This channel is a beacon for the latter. Share this revelation. Seek the full story. The investigation never ends. It only deepens. Your next step begins now.